Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is our post-Inspire video series with the aim of equipping you for the next step. You came to Inspire, you encountered Jesus, He unearthed some things in your life, and now maybe you're wondering, okay, what do I do with this? What's the next step? In the next few weeks here, we're going to release some videos where you hear, again, personal stories and testimonies that will give you the inspiration and the motivation and the tools that you need to go further with the Lord. Thank you for tuning in. I'm here with Josh Sinke. He has been with Youth with a Mission for how many years, you said?
14 years.
14 years. He's part of a mobile team that's reaching the nations. But give us a quick snapshot, Josh. What motivated you to be a part of something like YWAM?
Well, actually, I was raised in Youth with a Mission. My parents have been a part of YWAM for over 30 years, and it was their requirement that before I go on to do anything else, I could go to college and pursue any kind of career I wanted to, but I needed to do a discipleship training school first. And so I came to Tyler, and
How old were you?
18. I was 18. Came right out of high school, and during that time here, God just, well, one, he revealed himself like I hadn't ever experienced before. And I kind of went through a bit of crisis of faith actually when I came here, because I grew up in a Christian home, doing things a certain way, believing things a certain way, but when I came here, the reality of a personal relationship, my own experiences with God, I realized that those were very few in my life, and so then God was really establishing our relationship, and I was no longer just following the God that had been leading my parents, but I really discovered relationship with God for myself, and so
It became real.
it became really real. And it was during that time that God began to speak about His bigger dreams for my life and the things that He wanted to do, and I knew I had to stay here. I knew I had to continue, and it's where I've been for the last 14 years, and I've loved the journey. There's been ups and downs, lots of twists and turns, but
You met your wife here?
I met my wife here. Yeah, very, very grateful, very blessed for that. It's been an incredible journey. Yeah, so here I am today, leading a mobile team with a focus on worship, and that's the ministry that we feel like God's called us to.
Well, let's zoom into this a little bit. You mentioned the mobile team. I know personally from walking with you, God's been speaking a vision to you, and you're walking this out as we speak. And just for the people who you guys came to Inspire, again, you've met Jesus, you encountered Him, He unearthed some things in you, and now you may be wondering, okay, what am I doing with this? Now Josh here, he's walking out a vision that God's given him right now. So speak a little bit into this. How important is it to have people around you? Can you do it on your own? How do you approach this thing?
Well, absolutely, I don't think that you can do it on your own. I remember as I began to grow in my relationship with God, as I began to mature as a believer, I realized, not really quickly, but I did come to a realization that I do not personally work well by myself. And you mentioned the thing about teams, that even one of our foundational values as Youth with a Mission is that we function together in teams. And I heard recently somebody say, that it was the kindness of God to not give us everything, right? To not endow us with every ability possible. We're not all administrators, we're not all worship leaders, we're not all preachers and teachers. And it really is the kindness of God to gift other people with certain giftings, and then when you see people come together and exercise their giftings in unity, it's a blessing like you've never known, and the Bible talks about that, and so I've seen in my own personal journey my need for other people. I can't do it by myself, and I'm not designed to do it by myself. Things that God has called me to do, it's really fun when He brings the team together, because then God's been speaking very similar things to them, and you come together in one accord, one vision, one heart, to accomplish a purpose that God's put in your heart. And each person brings their own strength, each person brings their own flavor, and so it takes a lot of humility, It takes a lot of grace, to
listen,
listen, to not try and just push your own agenda, but to understand that you're in a team and that what everybody is bringing to the table is so vitally important to the overall vision that God's trying to fulfill.
Yeah. When Josh said something here, he said God brings those people together. And there's an element of trust. You got to trust Jesus that what he has given you, maybe even at Inspire or through other ways, a vision or a focus, a purpose, he has given you this for a reason. And like he's saying, there's other people that God's preparing at the same time, and he's going to bring you together. You got to trust Jesus. You got to trust him and pray for that. Say, Lord, you're giving me this thing. Now give me other people that I can walk hand in hand and work together, dream together, and build something for you. There's one more thought, Josh, I want to hear from you. You're a worship leader. You've been worship leader for a long time. And you actually worship at Inspire and other places. There's a phrase that stood out to me. You know, Inspire is a conference. It's a couple-day event. But really, how do we apply this thing in our daily life? Sort of this phrase, don't seek just an experience, but seek his face, seek his presence. Just speak into that in your own life. How do you do that?
You know, I think if you look at anybody, if you read anybody's story in the Bible, you see that what God was doing in their lives started in the secret place before it ever started in front of anybody else. And there was this journey. Even David, you know, he was a shepherd from the time that he was anointed king to when he became king was like a 13-year period. And through that time, I think we could read his story and be like, I don't want that experience. I don't want that journey. It was a very difficult journey. But what you see as you read the Psalms and you hear the songs that he wrote, you know, like this one thing that I ask God, I seek it above everything else, is that I may dwell in your house. And I think for myself, that has been true, that even the experiences with God that I have had, the ones that have been in a corporate setting, the most meaningful experiences have come because God was doing something personally before I even got to that place. And then it continued to carry me, right? Those experiences, it was like this mountaintop experience, which was awesome. It was a confirmation and all kinds of things that God was speaking. But then you keep walking, you take that truth, and then you allow God to develop your character. Because I believe that character is the most important thing. It is the one thing we'll take with us, you know? And what God is building in our life, it might take time, but there's this character building that God wants to do because he wants to lay a foundation. Like, it's going to sustain whatever the ministry that God calls us to. It's going to be our character that sustains that calling, right? It's going to be his presence in our lives, in that character that's going to sustain it. So it's absolutely vitally important that our experience is founded upon a personal walk with the Lord. It has to be.
Good word. Just take this away with you guys. Even if your personal experience isn't as loud as a conference or active, but it's maybe even more important than those events that we have in our lives. So invest into those times and don't give up. He mentioned David in the 13-year journey that he's been through, and beyond that, one thing he never did was give up. He always held on. Even when he fell into sin, even when he was going through the valley of the shadow of death, he knew that God was with him. He never gave up. So don't give up and invest into those times with Jesus. Bless you guys.